Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be my February wrap-up, basically reviewing all the books that I have read this month. This month was a little different because every year pretty much at this point, I do my 1 week, 1 shelf challenge during February. Basically, I put the numbers of all my shelf in a jar and I have to pick one every week. And that's the week I have to read books from for that whole week. And since my books are divided by genres, that's what happens, and I have to stick to that genre for that 1 week. I try to focus on books that I've kind of forgotten about on my shelf, that have been there for a while, so I feel like review-wise, it tends to be a lot more hit and miss. With that said, I have found some hidden gems, which is a pro, and the ones that I didn't like, I will be able to unhaul whenever I do my next unhaul video. So, you know, it's not all bad. So let's talk about the books. The first book I finished was part of a Patreon book club pick of the month, and it was Dawn by Octavia E. Butler. I absolutely adore this book. It is messed up. It is a first contact with aliens, adult sci-fi, but it's very different from any of the ones I've read ever. You follow main character, basically humanity, we kill each other off with nuclear war, and aliens arrive and swoop in just to grab people that are surviving. And you're following the story through this woman who is trying to figure out, are the aliens good? Are they bad? Is their version of good compatible with the way we would see it? And a lot of really messed up stuff happens. I feel like the book could almost be separated into two or three parts, really. And it's really short. It's 250 pages. You will not be able to put it down. Might want to look up some trigger warnings if you are sensitive. But the beginning, she's like in a cell trying to figure it out. And then you're starting to see more humans. And by the end, frankly, I was just wondering if humanity is even worth saving. If you enjoy being in a situation like reading a story where the character just doesn't know the answer, you will love this book. I just was racking my brain trying to understand, like, what did I think? Because, like, she's not sure, some of the characters are not sure, and you're just there wondering also. And I need to continue. It's a trilogy, and I'm kind of scared because I have no idea where it's going to continue because like the ending of the book, no spoilers obviously, left me very, very confused, and I don't know where it's gonna go. So the rest of the trilogy will be read. Hopefully I might have time to read one in March, but I highly recommend her books in general. But if you want a different take on the whole first contact with aliens, try out Dawn, because that was something. I think this is one of the books that we had the most fun reading and like discussing on the Patreon book club, because this was great. I moved my books and now I can't put them on the shelf. That's why I just that was awkward. But yes, that was part of week 1, which was sci-fi. Obviously, I should have mentioned that. But the second book I picked up for that week was this one, because I read the other one super quickly, and I read the first chapter of 2 books, and this one was the one that piqued my interest the most, and it is Timeline by Michael Crichton. I have been meaning to read more of his book. This is my 3rd one by him, and I really enjoy how he inserts like heavy science in his books, but it's still really, really interesting. And this one is time travel, although in the book they corrected me. What do you say? It's traveling through quantum foam. Time traveling, it's fine. But you're following a group of people that are sent back in the 1300s, and they end up in the middle of like the 100-year war and trying to help get back the professor that was sent there. And I watched the movie. I did say I was going to try it. The movie is so bad. It is so bad. But they made some changes that I didn't really approve of. But yes, this was fun. Like, this was fun. I didn't mention it. Dawn was a 5 stars, obviously. Like 4.5. It doesn't matter. It's the best book I've read this year so far, obviously. This one was a 4 star. The ending was the only part that I was like a little too Hollywood for me to, again, not spoil it. But if you're looking for just a fun book and you like historical fiction, time travel, I would recommend it. It's a fairly chunky one, but I read it really quickly and I enjoyed myself. It was what I needed at the time. Just something light and fun after this, because this one was a little traumatic, but this was great. 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. Week 2 was bookshelf number 1, which was adult fantasy, but I had kept on that shelf a lot of books from authors that are either like canceled, or have heard that there were like a lot of like grape scenes, just basically books that I was wary about them and I didn't want to unhaul them before giving them a shot. So that wasn't my best reading week, but I was still able to decide how I felt about some really popular one. The first book I attempted was The Last Wish, which is the first book in the Witcher series. And I've watched a TV show. Season 1 was good. Season 2, less so for me. I would be curious actually to hear your thoughts. I feel like people are watching them just for the main actor. But I was excited to read the book because I wanted to know a little bit more about like the witches, and I wanted to just get the hype because everyone is always saying how there's so much like history and like the world building basically seemed interesting. I didn't make it that far into the book. I made it to page 165 out of like 280. It's a short book. I should have been able to finish this, but first off, pretty much every single story that was in here so far was part of a TV show, so I didn't even get the novelty feeling, and I was not prepared for how much sexism there would be in here. And like, if you want to like get mad, go on like Goodreads and read the comment section on my review. I included a bunch of like exact quotes that are in here, and like that was just a couple examples. Like literally every page pretty much was something that would annoy me, and frankly I read for my own enjoyment. I wasn't enjoying myself, that's why I ended up putting it down. But I knew that like the main character Gerald was like morally gray. No, he's just not a good person, which it's fine. But like the world was not great. Every single female character was assaulted, or you know, like there was some misogyny every single time. And the only one that wasn't was a priestess to the goddess. I don't remember the name, but like the fertility, childbirth, like women's stuff kind of thing. And she made a grape joke about a 14-year-old child, which that was definitely one of the last drops for me. I have no interest in reading more fantasy books like that. Like there are so many books out there. Why would I read this? Why? And again, kind of annoyed that nobody really mentions this. Like you'll have people mention like the first page, which is ridiculous. The little like nipples touching eyelids, cheeks, and lips, which okay. But I hadn't heard how bad it was. I wasn't prepared. A few people did mention like you're not gonna like it without mentioning exactly what it was. But you were right. You were right. I continued with this one, which I listened to as an audiobook, The Magician King by Lev Grossman, which is the second book in the Magician's trilogy. I had read the first book, and I was okay with it. I didn't really care for the ending, but the whole, like, depressed magical school thing, I was fine with it. But book 2, I just felt very meh about the whole thing. And towards the end, once again, there was a pointless grape scene, which even worse, it made it seem like it was a good thing for the female character, which... So yeah, these two books definitely were on the right shelf, and next time I do an unhaul video, they will be gone from my life. The next shelf was nonfiction, which is one of my big challenges this year, is to read more nonfiction, and I have so many books that are on my TBR now, waiting list library, or just that I've bought. You will see I'm doing a video about those two topics actually in March, so you're gonna see a lot of them. But the one I picked was this one, which is The Emperor of All Malady. How do you say that in English? I can never do that. Maladie. Which is a biography of cancer, and this is a thick boy, like a really, really thick boy. I was flip-flopping between the audiobook and the physical book, and I still didn't have time to finish it during that week. Fortunately for me, I had a couple days at the end of the month, so I was able to finish it today, which is technically March 1st. So I didn't read it in February, but I'm including it in here because it's going to be very late when I do like the wrap up in March. So I might as well include it in here. I read most of it. I literally finished it this morning. There was like 50 minutes left. So like out of 21 hours, you know, this was really great. I think that the only thing negative I could even think of was the fact that it's published in 2010. So like towards the end, we don't get all of the newest things that might be out that we've discovered about cancer, which not a big deal since it's a biography of cancer. I will be able to, you know, look for more like recent discoveries. But I really enjoyed seeing how like the first information that we found like archaeologically, like the first people that we have seen that had cancer, and how like back in the day it was more like the really aggressive forms of it. And we get all the discoveries of it. It's a little depressing. I mean, it's cancer, because in the beginning, obviously, we had no idea how to fix anything or try to help. But towards the end is definitely better because we have more and more information, more discoveries, and it was interesting. I can't say I absorbed the whole thing because, frankly, I don't think that's something I should have expected, but I've definitely learned things, which is definitely the goal with nonfiction for me. So yes, super interesting, definitely worth the hype. I feel like this has been like on every list of like nonfiction that you must read. I agree, it was great. I don't really rate my nonfiction, but like 5 stars, you know? Next shelf was thrillers, mystery thrillers, and I ended up getting one from the library because the ones that I have, I didn't have the audiobook, but I picked up The Good Sister, which is a fairly recent mystery. kinda, but frankly I found it more like a family drama kind of thing. My mistake is that I've been looking for new mystery thrillers that have great ratings, and then I just add them to my TBR without really looking into it because I don't want to know anything about them, right? And this one I should have, because the premise was just not up my alley. You have twin sisters, and one of them is not able to get pregnant, so her twin sister decides to do it for her, kind of a surprise. And the sister is neurodivergent, and I think that was the only good part in the book, the representation, but the rest was just really weird. You also have flashback through like a diary, I guess, of the other sister that can't get pregnant, and you see their childhood and how their mother was like negligent or like abusive, and like it was fine, but just really not for me. I really didn't enjoy it. I'm giving it 2 stars. I shouldn't have picked it up. That's the real thing. Like, there's no real mystery. The ending happened, I'm like, that's what I thought, but like, okay. That one is on me. That one is probably on me. The next one was this one. It is a familiar site, which also had a good rating on Goodreads, 4.12, because I didn't know what book to pick, so I went with the one that had the highest rating out of all the books that I had on my shelf, and this one is also fairly recent, 2021? Yeah. I wanted to read some new ones, and it's a mystery again, and this one, the premise was good. My issue was with the main character, which let's start from the beginning. There's a mother that is murdered, and the person that it's accused is her teenage daughter, who is a psychopath. And you're trying to solve it with a doctor that is hired by the police, and she is personally a sociopath. That's why she's like hired to try and like understand things that other people might not be able to pick up on. And she's really invested because her friend, who was the lawyer of the teenage daughter, died, and like it looks like a suicide. So she's trying to figure out what's the link between people, what's going on, did the daughter really do it? And I really liked all of that, but I just felt like the main character rang wrong. Like, she didn't ring true. Like, you would get her like talking to people and be like, oh yeah, I want to bash their head on the floor right now. And I'm like, okay. Like, I get that's what maybe a sociopath is, but like, it just felt like a children's version of a story. Which sounds really mean, I know, but like, it just, I would be curious actually if you have read this. Like, did you like the main character? There's technically a second book about her story, but I'm not going to pick it up. For me, this is a 3 stars, because like, if you don't care for the main character, like if you have issues with them, we'll blame that on French, with them, then it's really hard to really fully enjoy the story. So yeah, overall, not a bad book, just I personally didn't care for the main character, so it obviously affected my enjoyment. What I'm currently reading and listening to, just to let you know, I was hoping I would have time to finish this one because I had to put it down at the end of January because I was doing the 1 week, 1 shelf, obviously, and it is Before Their Hang by Joe Abercrombie, the second book in the First Law trilogy, adult fantasy. I am just over 50% into it. I'm enjoying it so far, but I really care more about Glockta than anyone else. I'm hoping I will get more interested in the like other men that aren't Nine Fingers, but so far so good. I just think his chapters are just so much better, but still pretty solid read so far. And the audiobook I literally just started today, but I'm letting you know anyway. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This one is also fairly recent, and so far the story seems to be like a couple, like their marriage is like not doing well, and they go on like a trip, like a last chance kind of thing, and they go far away, and there's a snowstorm, and the husband is one of those people that can't recognize faces, so I'm like, we'll see how I feel about this. But I've heard that the story is good, but the ending is like hit and miss depending on who you are, but I feel like that's the case with literally every mystery thriller, right? So hoping this is going to be it, otherwise I might need to take a break with mystery thrillers, because I want to love them, but I give 5 stars to like 1 a year, which not a good average. If you have any suggestions, I am more than open to them. So this is it. Not my best reading month, but I feel like, again, those like 1 week, 1 shelf, trying to focus on books that have been on my shelf for a while, that's kind of what's gonna happen. But I'm happy that I still read a good amount. I don't feel like I'm in a reading slump anymore, which I was feeling in the beginning of the month, so I do think it helped with that. And I am super excited for March because I have so many books on my TBR, and I have a good feeling about a lot of them, so fingers crossed. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye.